And we're going to go from one fantastic guest to another one. The man himself in a sexy shirt, no less, Ted Rall. How you doing, Ted? You doing all right?
Feeling sexy. Too sexy for my cat. If you know that reference.
How you doing, man? You doing all right?
You know that reference. Remember Right
Ted Rall, political cartoonist, syndicated columnist, host of TMI with the great, the beautiful, the awesome She Walks on Water, Manila Chan. Also with John Kariakou. And that one is called, I want to say Debrief, but I don't think it's named Debrief.
Deprogram.
Deprogram. That was close. And in fact, let me put that into the thing right now. You and Wilmer, for whatever reason, I could never get that thing. I had to put it into the script for Wilmer, so I'm putting it into the thing for you right now, the program. Mom Donnie, you have a new mayor-elect in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel any different? Has the world changed? Our grocery store is free. A bus is free yet? Give me your thoughts on the election, man.
The hammer and sickle bunting everywhere.
Right. They put the flag up of the hammer and sickle all over the New York.
Statue of Lenin replaced the Statue of Liberty. I would be all about it, but you know.
Well, they jumped from socialists to communists. They said the guys are communists.
I wish. God, please, from their lips, their fascist lips to God's ears. But it's if only it were so. No, I mean, look, he's a liberal Democrat, like circa 1968. He's Hubert Humphrey. He's John Lindsay. He's, he's George McGovern. Maybe George McGovern was to his left. It's like everything's moved so far to the right on both major parties that, of course, obviously, anything that's not super fascist looks a little socialist. A democratic socialist is kind of like a meaningless term anyway. We could get into that. But look, this was more to me. Is this meaningfully going to change the life of New Yorkers? Is the rent going to go down? Are groceries going to become half price? No. You
don't think so?
This is going to change the life of the DNC. Is what it's going to do. The DNC's life is about to be made miserable, right? I mean, literally the highest profile, quote unquote democratic socialist since Robert La Follette has just been elected to major office by a sweeping landslide. And I won't get into what I think is probably chicanery at the Board of Elections regarding Andrew Cuomo's so-called results, where, Andrew Cuomo suddenly goes from 24% the day before the election in the polls to 42%.
Oh, I see.
I don't know about that. I mean, I see. And I don't believe for a minute that Curtis Sliwa went from, 18 to 8% either. I don't believe Curtis Sliwa didn't carry Staten Island at all. I don't believe that. But anyway, the point is they couldn't really cheat Mamdani out of it. There would have been riots. The city would have burned to the ground. Look, it's obviously we knew he was going to win. It was a foregone conclusion. He ran away with it months ago. Thanks mainly to his opposition, which was so lame, Eric Adams, and who we've now forgotten about, and Cuomo, who ran an atrocious campaign. And so, look, the thing is, this is a lesson for the DNC. Does this mean that, could I walk into a DNC meeting and make a case that this is the model for all Democratic races nationally going forward? No, because it's not true. But it's certainly true that this is the model that should be looked at for major cities and liberal states. This can be replicated in Massachusetts. This can be replicated in Chicago, San Francisco, Miami, Los Angeles. This could be maybe replicated in the entire state of California, although maybe it's a little tough there. So I'm just saying that what this is about is saying the progressive half or 60 or 70% of the Democratic Party voters can no longer be ignored. They will no longer be denied. And the harder you try to force a corporatist down their throats, the more they're going to push back. That's really the issue. Now, in terms of New York City, what has been promised here? In a city of 8 million people, 5 experimental cheap grocery stores.
Right.
Okay, probably not going to work because the history of government run grocery stores is not promising anywhere in the country or in the world. The free buses, that's a good idea. That can happen,
Yes.
and it should happen. I think I don't think it's really that meaningful because most New Yorkers rely more on the subway than on the bus. The bus is more the supplement, like you use the subway to get up or downtown, then you take the bus across town, and there's a free transfer. So it's not really putting money into people's pockets. And, we have one of the best subway and bus fares in the country. It's $2.90. And it's non-zonal, so you can go from the far ends of like the Rockaways out by JFK Airport all the way up to the northern Bronx, which is a trip that takes hours for $2.90. Right? Compare that to the BART in San Francisco, where that same trip is going to be like from like SFO out to like northern to the northern part reaches of the Bay Area. It's going to be like $20 one way. So it's not going to change people's lives. The rent should have been frozen years ago. It's not been, and I don't know. It's like we'll see what happens there. But even if the rent were frozen, that doesn't really do much.
Still too high.
The average rent of a New York City apartment now is $5,000 a month.
I can't believe that.
For a
number
one-bedroom.
blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like if you're a barista, how do you afford rent?
Well, you live in some shitty area and you share with like 3 people. You live illegally, and the truth is, or you commute a long way. It's not sustainable. I mean, look, the rent has always been too damn high in New York City. I mean, I remember in the 80s, I shared a 2-bedroom apartment. One of us slept in the living room. But there were with 2 other guys, right? So 3 guys sharing a 2-bedroom. One dude slept in the living room. It was a 6th floor walk up in a dangerous neighborhood. I mean, we found 2 guys murdered in the lobby of our building. It was $850 a month. And I earned $283. So my share was $283. My paycheck was $315 every 2 weeks. So one paycheck, poof, gone every month. And that's not counting, the power and, and food and all the necessities. We used to jump the turnstile because we couldn't pay the fare. But the point is that how did we do it? If we needed toilet paper, we went to the diner and went to the bathroom with a backpack and stole the toilet paper out of there. I mean,
wow.
we were living rough, right? I mean, and we were college educated white dudes, I mean, we had a future. It's like if you're the barista, the future doesn't look bright. By the way, Starbucks is getting ready for a national strike. That's an interesting story too. The baristas are pissed, and they should be. But
yes, they should be.
And it's not. So anyway, it is definitely. Look, it's always. I tend to look at a gift horse in the mouth. It's really good that Mamdani won. It's really good that he's still saying all the right things. He's also the way he campaigned is instructive too. He didn't, he didn't run away from anything controversial, right?
Yes.
It's like, he didn't try to weasel out of his positions on Israel or or being a Muslim or being a democratic socialist. He owned everything. And I think even if you were a little skeptical of, say, his age or his religion or whatever, you had to respect the fact that he's not trying to bullshit you. He's like, this is who I am. The voters really crave authenticity. And yes. I think a lot of people voted for him despite their doubts, possibly, because, they're so hungry for something new. Andrew Cuomo was all about something old. And that's something old, like I've said to you before. If he'd run in 2021, it was exactly what the doctor ordered, but not by 2025. With the pandemic raging and the chaos in the streets, there was a sense that the city needed a firm hand, law and order. Yes. Now there's still no law and order, but New Yorkers are used to it and they're rolling with the punches.
They're looking for
looking for someone who, they're like, oh God. We could address systemic issues. I didn't know we were allowed to do that. Wow.
And just to back up your point because look, I am a firm believer that you hold your shape. If you run, it makes people think that there's a reason that you're running. right? It's like you own it. This is what I am. Take it or leave it.
Right.
You're much better off, especially for the lefty stuff. It's like, yeah, we're gonna have free grocery stores. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm planning on. And when they attack him on it, he points out Cuomo paid more for his sexual harassment claims than I am talking about for the grocery store. When you put it in that context, right? You're like, hey, that's a good point, right? Like he owned all of these issues. And this is one of those ones for the Zionist thing. I love this. Listen to this, because you don't really get to see this very often. It's mind-blowing to me that these people thought in the middle of a genocide.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo?
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani?
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I?
Fantastic answer. And by the way, he gets attacked for it. He gets attacked for that. I am mayor. I am not president. I'm not a senator. I'm not a congressman. I am a mayor of New York City. And if you ask me where I'm going to go, I'm going to stay in New York and deal with the issues associated with New York. Now, you would think that every New Yorker would be like, yeah, well, that's what we want. We want somebody to deal with New York. And yet he gets attacked on stage for that very answer. It's that reason and things like that. That's why he won. And I don't know if Democrats are going to realize it, but that's why he won.
Yeah, I don't think that corporate Democrats are able to replicate that secret sauce, and because it's not a secret. But there's an inherent contradiction between being a Democrat, which was theoretically the party of the working man and woman, and being a corporatist, which is those are the people who exploit working men and working women.
Ted, you're speaking my language. I've said the same. I made the same argument that the contradiction is so over the top. How are you getting millions of dollars and you are yet supposed to represent people who are the poor and the middle class and workers? How do those things relate to one another? You can't.
And Bernie Sanders has been talking about that for years. I mean, Bernie's analysis has been spot on, and because it's totally true that, look, the Clintons, what they learned and figured was that the Democrats had a funding issue in the 90s. They used to always be outspent by the Republicans. Yes. And they were like, well, where do we go? Like Willie Sutton, we're going to go where the money is with the corporations. And it is a fact, Jamal, if you and I, it's a lot easier for you and I to shake down, one rich dude for $1 million than it is to shake down 100,000 poor dudes for $10, right?
Right.
So it's a lot easier. The problem is that when that dude calls that you got the $1 million from, you better fucking take his call. And you better, you probably better do what he wants.
Right.
And that's exactly what's happened to the Democratic Party. They went with the corporate. They were like, we're going to compete with the Republicans for the big business money. And they didn't have the problem in the 90s, and, I'm somewhat sympathetic to this, was that Democrats didn't have an alternative funding mechanism. They didn't know how to do small donations. The internet didn't exist to do that. And unions were falling apart in large part because Republicans had gutted them during the 80s. Yeah. So, and that used to be a funding mechanism. And there's no doubt you need money to win campaigns. And it's not even about running ads. It's about crunching data. That's what you really use the money for. The ads, 5% of campaign funding goes to ads. Ads are nothing. It's about slicing and dicing data in a million different ways. Which doors to knock on, which phones to ring, and so on. But that said, this is how they got them. This is the thing about life, right? We've all been through it. You fix one problem, but it causes another, and that's what happened there. And of course, obviously, it didn't hurt for the Clintons and people like them that was their politics. They were corporatists, right? Maybe in her heart of hearts, Hillary Clinton was once a good person, back in the 1970s. Maybe that's possible, but it doesn't matter because by the time they went this direction, they owned it completely and fully, and I think they started to believe it at a certain point. So it's but Mamdani kind of points away. And look, Bernie Sanders, AOC, they all, for all of their flaws, they all show that a different way is possible. Now, the problem here is that it's within the Democratic Party. And,
Right.
I mean, you're inside the beast. And,
Right.
just this morning I heard Mamdani say, like, oh, I talked to the governor-elect of New Jersey, and, we're going to do good things together. And look, the mayor of the city of New York doesn't actually have much to do with New Jersey. The governor of the state of New York has a lot to do with the governor of New Jersey. But I mean, I was just thinking the fact that he has to make that call, and it's like, ooh, there's a
It
French
started.
word for this.
It
It's called,
begins.
and there's a French word for it called l'engrenage, and it's sort of loosely translated like another day, another dollar, but it's like the system, it's the daily grind. It's like,
Yeah.
you're in, like Pink Floyd would say, welcome to the machine, right?
Yeah. Now the sausage making begins. Now it begins, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Incoming.
I mean, it's like you've done all of this electoral stuff, right? You said everything right. You campaigned efficiently. You put a knife in people who needed a knife put in them. You've done all that good stuff. Now it's all right. How do we do it? How do we make this work?
Yeah.
You make the point of saying, I agree with you. The problem is the DNC and whether or not this is going to be a pain in the ass for the DNC. But is it? I don't think the Democrats looked at this and thought to themselves, all right, I guess we're going to have to go this route. Spangelberger, whatever her name is, won in Virginia. The other rando Democrat won in the other state. And of course, all of the media reports, Democrats turn to the moderate direction because this is the way to win elections. And Mamdani
It's
is
what they
an offshoot.
always say. Like,
I know.
That's
my point.
could they say anything else ever? I mean, have they? Is it even possible? Are they allowed? It's sort of like the puppet.
That's my point. Like the message that they took from this is Trump's bad, Trump is horrendous, any rando Democrat will win. And that was the policy, that was the model that they went with. If you notice in the very beginning, Democrats weren't saying anything. They were letting Trump be Trump. They burned their entire bridge on this idea of stopping Trump. It failed. And they were like, all right, let's let Trump be horrible. And when he's very horrible, we'll get back into the race. Now, the problem that they ran into is people start screaming at him, why aren't you fighting? Why aren't you fighting? In which case, they got more boisterous in their language. But for all intents and purposes, let Trump be horrible. And when we throw rando Democrat, whatever rando Democrat that is, Spangenberger, or the one that won in, what I think it was Pennsylvania, maybe. I know they swept the Pennsylvania Supreme Court seats. Apparently, even in Georgia, like commissioners, Democratic commissioners got into office. And then you look at the numbers, like the scale to which they went. They were beating by like 20 points. And I was looking at the Cuomo race, and I was like, who are these 40% people who want to put this lying sexual abuser into office?
Who, by the way, openly says that he doesn't like New York City.
Yes. Who does this, right? Who voted for this guy? 40%. And
Well,
yet,
I don't think they did, really, but yeah.
Right. You think the election was dodgy, but fair enough.
I think the system, the Democratic machine, did not allow for, would not allow a route that basically looked like Sliwa and Cuomo tied for a distant second.
Oh, I see. Like
So-
Mamdani at 60 and Cuomo and the other guy at 15%.
Yeah, well,
or something
no,
like that.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, I had sources within the campaign that had internal polling. I called this on Deprogram a couple days before the election. I said it's going to be 52%. It was 51.5%.
You nailed it.
So, I mean, hey, you can, that was good sourcing. I was very happy that I got that internal polling data, but everything had Cuomo stuck at 24% for months. I mean, and Sliwa was rising, and understandably so. I mean, Sliwa is a really likable, very charming New Yorker who owns 11 cats and lives in a one-bedroom apartment. We love him, even though I don't. I wish he wasn't a Republican. If he wasn't a
Is that
Republican,
true?
he'd be the mayor of New York.
He owns 11 cats for real?
He owns 11 cats in a one-bedroom apartment.
Jesus.
Well, when you have 11 cats, they own you. But
yeah.
yeah. You own one cat, they own you. But
I guess my point is they have been like Democrats effectively swept all the elections. And that just swept all the elections. Even in California, Proposition 50 passed, which is going to add, what, 4 or 5
Well, that's
new
not. I don't know
things.
why people are surprised by that. Why was anyone surprised that Prop 50 was going to pass? I mean, were you? I wasn't. I mean, I
Yeah, that
was
was
like,
easy.
of course, it's like Californians are all Democrats, and they're gonna like, yeah, we're gonna get. It's not. This isn't about the power of Gavin Newsom. This is about like, look at what the Texans are up to. Fuck them. We'll do the same thing.
Exactly. Agreed.
That's all it is.
And then Trump
Californians
freaks
are
out.
very, very savvy voters. I mean, I spent a lot of time in California, and like,
Mhm.
I've always been impressed with their long memories and their careful analysis of the way they vote. And it was like, yeah, I mean, I saw this coming a million miles.
It's like,
These are
it's
not
easy.
idiots. They don't vote emotionally at all.
Yep. It's an easy vote. I guess my thing is, my issue with all of this is that Democrats have learned nothing. They've
No,
given
that's
nothing.
right.
They still have
And-
no message. Nothing
And the
has changed.
election yesterday is going to confirm that for them, right? Because it's
Yes.
just like you said, they're going to be like, well, what was their message, right? They didn't have a unifying message in this past campaign. And by the way, I don't blame them. No one's ever thought of trying to, nationalize an off year election, right? Like Newt Gingrich did it with a midterm. No one's ever done it with an odd numbered year. It's not possible, right? Or maybe it is possible, but no one's ever tried. But the point is, so they're going to come out of this and like, what was the message? The message, why did people vote that way? They voted that way because they were pissed off at Donald Trump. And
Right.
the analysis that's come out now from like Politico, and I think, I said this yesterday morning on the show, it's, basically people are pissed off because Trump ran on the economy, and now he's spending all his fucking time blowing up Venezuelans and, thinking about, whatever, invading and sucking up to racist Afrikaners and bringing and just like doing all this shit all over the world, like, oh, I'm gonna bomb Kenya or whatever. I mean, he's not. He took his eye off the ball, which is of course what Donald Trump does. That's his personality. But he lost the script, right? It's like this is an economic period. Nothing's been solved. If anything, it's getting worse. And,
Yes.
and so like the analysis now is Republicans are, well, we've got to try to get the president refocused. And that's how it is. Yeah.
He's a Republican. How? They don't care. It's not like, look, I never had this belief that Donald Trump was going to come in and do anything for the economy short of getting
No.
massive tax cuts.
No.
And I never understood why people even thought that Trump, a blue collar billionaire who cares purely about himself and his own enrichment, was going to somehow come in and do something great for the economy. I mean, Donald Trump has military people right now, as we speak, getting food stamps. That's assuming they can even get food stamps since the government is shut down. But in lines at food banks while having other military people try to attack another country. That's what's taking place.
That's why the troops need to invade Venezuela so they can eat something down there in Caracas.
Right, they can get some good Venezuelan food. And when you ask the American public, they come up with this. Fox News had to run this. And this, Fox News had to spin it a particular way, but ultimately Fox News was stuck with their own poll. Or ABC
So
News
here's
poll.
Americans, they're spending more on basic needs. They're saying they're spending 71% more on groceries, 59% more on utilities, on healthcare, 43%, housing, 39%. So you see people are...
So effectively, Donald Trump has increased the cost of everything that Americans are paying for.
feeling the
And
pinch.
his argument is effectively, hey man, tariffs are giving this country billions of dollars. We are paying those tariffs. So like,
Right.
so it's this outrageous position of, hey man, we're making all of this money in tariffs. Look how many billions of dollars we made in tariffs. And it's like, oh, you mean
Yeah,
the
who's
billions
this
of dollars
we?
that are coming out of Americans' pockets?
Who's this we we're talking about here?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, no, that's exactly right. I mean, look, you can whatever, when presidents always like to point to metrics, like Biden did it. Like, look, things are a lot better than you think. Like, don't believe your lying wallet. Remember, believe me. Like, look at my statistics. And it's like after the fact, it turned out that statistics were, correct, were inaccurately calculated and all that. And they are in the bubble. Donald Trump definitely, look, I have to give him props. He looked out the window of his limousine in 2012 and 13 and 14 and thought, as he drove through, the Rust Belt, and said, it must suck to live like this. It must suck to see all these boarded up houses and businesses and factories. And, if I talk about it, maybe people will agree with me. And that's how he became president of the United States.
Yeah.
That's, so he's actually very smart at analyzing how people will feel about things. What he's terrible at is coming up with policies and following through on them that that might address these issues, right? I mean, he recognized the problem of the coal miners, but there probably are solutions to them. I think the solution is mainly a giant national jobs retraining program is what's really needed here. But there's kind of like, or the air conditioning plant, the Carrier plant, like, he identifies the problem. The Lordstown plant in Ohio, 10,000 workers out of work, fucked over. He can talk about it, but he can't do anything about it. And part of the problem is that he is a right-wing Republican, and he's surrounded by right-wing Republican policymakers. And, intrinsically, inherently, right-wing Republicans do not give a shit about anyone other than big business and the wealthy. And they can't even pretend to. It's like, and so the only thing you have left then is like the rising tide, lifts all boats, but the tide's not rising, dude.
Right.
So that's the problem. I mean, except for the stock market and crypto. But, how many of us are in that?
10% apparently of the entire country. And only, I think it's like 1% of the one, as the higher you get into it, meaning 90% of the country is not involved in any of that stuff.
No.
That's only a very tiny slice of America that is effectively involved in that stuff. Give me your take on the government shutdown, by the way. It's like I leave and you guys shut the government down. And I'm always impressed that air traffic controllers stay on the jobs.
Sure. Well, they're not, apparently, is the problem. Not
Right.
anymore.
Those huge lines that are apparently at the various airports. I don't know why
TSA
any
people are
of them stay
dipping.
on the jobs. All of them should just be like, hey, if the government's not going to work, why should we? And put more pressure on the government in that sense. But they don't do that. They continue to do their jobs. Do you think that Republicans are under pressure now with the election that have taken place? I mean, Donald Trump came out and said, hey, we need you to give her the filibuster. Okay, well, that's interesting. You're effectively telling them to give her the filibuster because it seems like there's some sense that, hey, I need you to get the government back open. This looks bad for me now. And the public has just gone heavy for the Democratic Party. We're going into midterms.
Well, Republicans are learning something that they may not have been familiar with before, which is that perception in politics is far more important than reality. Is it true that this government shutdown is mostly the Democrats' fault? Sure, absolutely. They're refusing to provide like half a dozen votes that would reopen the government, and they're leveraging their desire to renew the Affordable Care Act subsidies in order to do it. But the voters who are, working 50 hours a week to try to pay those high prices that you just mentioned, Jamal, they look at it and they say, look, it's very simple. It's a simple analysis. Republicans control everything. The Supreme Court, the White House, both houses of Congress, most elected, high elected offices across the country. You guys run everything. You even have the dominant cable news network. You have everything. So everything that goes wrong is your fault by definition. That's kind of like that's what's going on. So yeah, the pressure is on. The Republicans are getting beaten up in the polls. Donald Trump knows it. They know it. And the thing is, I don't think they really fully appreciated the extent to which Democrats really don't have a choice. I mean, Jamal, here's the thing.
Right.
The Republicans say, we will talk about the Affordable Care Act subsidies after you decide to pass a clean CR, continuing resolution, and reopen the government. Okay, well, that's a lie. We all know that. No one thinks that the Republicans would be amenable to renewing the subsidies, right? Nobody.
Right.
So what would happen is, so let's just say the Democrats go along. They reopen the government. The subsidies go away. The already fragile marketplaces, both the federal and the state ones, they all collapse next year, okay? Because basically 20 million people lose their health care. That also drags down the entire private care system because that's propped up financially by the by the ACA. But the point is, what is the only major legislative achievement of the Democratic Party since the Great Society of Lyndon Johnson? The ACA, does it suck? Yeah, but it's the only thing they've got. So if that goes away, what are they going to be saying? Like, well, we passed the Civil Rights Act? I mean, back when I was 1 year old and I'm 62, like, really? I mean, they literally would be like committing political suicide. They would have nothing to point to. They would have accomplished nothing. There would be no reason for that party to even exist. For Democrats, it's existential. They have to hold the line. And I don't think, I think Republicans are used to pushing, and just being, abusive all the time. And they think that, like, if they keep acting like bullies, the Democrats will roll. Well, they always have, but they can't this time. So because they can't, they won't. If they could, they'd figure out a way, but they can't. So the Republicans are feeling the heat. They're going to have to blink. Everything's falling apart, man. I mean, like, a lot of people are not going to get any food stamps this month at all. Some are going to get a fraction of. People are going to be on TV like, I'm hungry, my kid's hungry. It's already started. That there's tomorrow, the aviation system is going to start to implode. Okay, you can't cancel 10% of flights you can cancel 10% of flights, and then, okay, what happens to all those fucking people? You and I both know, like, if 10% of flights are canceled due to a series of thunderstorms going through one part of the country, it ripples through the system. Everybody who's changing flights is stuck overnight. They're 5-hour waits. They miss their connections. Everything falls apart. 10% isn't 10%. 10% is 50%. 20% is 100%. So, I mean, because the whole thing is tied together with duct tape and baling wire. So that falls apart. And then you've got the the Affordable Care Act subsidies. People are getting those bills like, oh yeah, you were paying $280 a month. Now it's going to be $1,200 a month. People are like, what the fuck? I mean, we're used to higher prices. We're not used to prices like that. I mean, there's nothing. Everything's coming up Democrat these days, or maybe more accurately, everything's coming up not Republican.
Isn't that necessary? This sounds very brutal, and I don't even know if I fully believe this. But does this country need a wake-up call?
Yes.
And what I mean is, like, it's like, dude, Affordable Care Act sucks. I understand that it's the best that you got, so it's the life raft that you hold on to. But if you're in another country, you pay much less for healthcare, especially if there's some kind of government model that's built into the healthcare. And let's be honest, the Affordable Care Act is just a middleman that is completely unnecessary. It is a middleman that just drives up costs. True. And yet that is the life preserver that people hold on to because, for all intents and purposes, it's the only life preserver that they have available to them. But it's a sucky life preserver. Like, meaning, is this a situation where, well, the airlines need to implode. The Affordable Care Act or the healthcare system needs to implode. Social Security needs to stop sending checks. SNAP benefits need to stop. Meaning the public needs to be royally pissed. And I mean pissed at both political parties for the failings of both political parties. And the government being shut down and not being able to function as a result of both political parties. Maybe that's necessary in order for anything real to take place in regards to the public that finally loses, stop being anesthetized and gets more engaged in being
I hate it. I mean, I hate it. It's like, I think it's ridiculous. But, people have a tendency not to do anything about major pressing problems until, the rent is due and they can't pay it. Right. They could see like 2 months ahead of time that the rent is due and they're not going to be able to pay it, but that's different. It's just the way we're wired psychologically. I suspect probably it goes back to the fact that we were hunter-gatherers, and hunter-gatherers don't store food, right? They basically they wait till they're hungry. It's like an animal, like a predator, like a tiger, a cat has to be hungry really to have a more successful rate of killing. And like it's just an animal thing. We have to be desperate. We have to, Che Guevara said that as long as the existing system, no matter how shitty it was there was some hope that it could deliver, people were not going to rise up and overthrow it. That hope, so you have to introduce a sense of total desperation and hopelessness in order to get people to really wake up. It sucks. I mean, as a humanist, I can't stand it. I mean, when people are, going hungry or suffering, needlessly. But it's the reality of our politics.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, do you see anything changing on that front? And this could be the last question. Like, do you see the government opening? Do you see Republicans yielding to the pressure that's being applied?
They're gonna have to. They're gonna have to come.
Think so.
They're gonna have to come to Jesus, and it's gonna. I don't know. It's hard to say when. I'm gonna say, but I'm pretty good at this. I'm gonna say about 10 days. They're gonna wake the fuck up by November 15th. They're gonna fucking cave, and they're gonna renew those subsidies.
Now, just to be clear, though, I thought the subsidies has already lapsed. That the bills are already.
They've lapsed. They're going to have to go back retroactively, and figure out a way to get those into people's pockets. They're going to have to.
And you think they're going to do that?
They have
something they don't care about.
They have to. If they don't, it's like the country's going to start to fall apart. I mean, I guess that could happen too. I mean, that's possible. Political suicide is always an option. But not a good one. I mean, I guess I'm giving Republicans credit for not being that fucking stupid. But, that could happen.
10 days. Ted Rall. He put it on there. He said, I'm good at this 10 days. I'm going to hold you to 10 days, Ted.
We'll see. We'll see. It could be longer, could be shorter, but yeah, that's if I had to put money on it, that's where I'm putting it.
Ted Rall, political cartoonist, syndicated columnist, co-host of TMI with the awesome Manila Chan, and also Deprogram with the great John Kiriakou. Ted, thank you for this, man. You be safe, okay?
All right, you too. Take care.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Ted has given his 10 days, as he puts it. I'm writing it down. Ted Rall says 10 days for the government to